Angelina Jolie was born into the world of Hollywood. Her father was the acclaimed actor Jon Voight, and her mother was the actress Marceline Bertrand. This world of lights and cameras was her inheritance, but, it was also a complicated place for a young girl to grow up. Her parents' marriage ended when she was very young, and this left a lasting mark on her. She felt like an outsider, even in a town built on creating illusions. Her childhood was not a simple fairy tale. It was filled with emotion and a sense of not quite belonging. This feeling would shape her for years to come. She began to explore acting as a teenager. For her, it was a way to understand her own feelings, and a way to step into other people's shoes. Her early roles were often in small, independent films. She was not afraid of characters who were broken or troubled. She played a teenage runaway, and she played a rebellious cyberpunk hacker. These roles were not glamorous, they were raw and real. They showed a depth that went beyond her famous last name. She was proving that she was more than just Jon Voight's daughter. She was an artist in her own right, with a unique and powerful voice that demanded to be heard. Her relationship with her father was famously difficult. For many years they were estranged, and this public struggle became a part of her story. It added to her image as a Hollywood rebel. She was not someone who would pretend things were perfect. She was honest about her pain and her struggles, and this honesty made people pay attention. It was different from the polished perfection that so many stars tried to project. Angelina was messy and complicated. She was human, and that was why people started to become fascinated with her. She wasn't just acting out rebellion, she was living it. Even in these early days, you could see the star she would become. There was an intensity in her eyes, a fire that the camera just loved. She won a Golden Globe for her role in the television film George Wallace. She won another for her portrayal of the tragic supermodel Gia Karanji in Gia. These were not just awards, they were a declaration. They announced that a major talent had arrived. Angelina Jolie was not just a Hollywood daughter anymore. She was a force of nature, ready to take on the world and redefine what it meant to be a leading lady. Her journey was just beginning. In 2001, everything changed. Angelina Jolie was cast as Lara Croft in Lara Croft Tomb Raider. This was not a small, dark, independent film. This was a massive Hollywood blockbuster. The role transformed her from a respected actress into a global superstar. She became an action hero, strong, intelligent, and fearless. The image of Jolie as Lara Croft, with her signature braid and dual pistols, became iconic. It was a role that required immense physical strength and charisma. She did her own stunts and embodied the character completely. The world was captivated by her power and her presence on the screen. Suddenly, she was one of the most famous women in the world. Her face was on posters and magazine covers everywhere. But she didn't let the fame change the core of who she was. She continued to take on challenging and complex roles. In Girl Interrupted, she played a magnetic and volatile patient in a mental institution. The role won her an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress. This was a critical moment. It proved that she was not just an action star. She was a serious, deeply talented actress who could do it all. She had the box office power and the critical acclaim. Her career in the early 2000s was a string of hits. She starred opposite Brad Pitt in the action comedy Mr. and Mrs. Smith. The chemistry between them was electric, and the film was a massive success. It was also the film that famously brought them together in real life. She played the grieving widow of journalist Daniel Pearl in A Mighty Heart, a role that showed her incredible range and empathy. She voiced the fierce tigress in the animated hit Kung Fu Panda. Each role was different, and each one showed a new side of her talent. She was building a career that was both commercially successful and artistically fulfilling. She became more than just an actress. She became a brand. She was a symbol of strength, beauty, and independence. But she was also using her newfound fame for something more. During the filming of Tomb Raider in Cambodia, her eyes were open to the humanitarian crises in the world. This experience would set her on a new path, and it was a path that would come to define her life just as much as her acting career. Her rise to stardom was not just about becoming famous, it was about finding a platform to make a real difference in the world. The light of Hollywood was now shining on her, and she was going to use it. Angelina Jolie's personal life became as famous as her film career. Her relationship with Brad Pitt created a global phenomenon known as Brangelina. They were Hollywood's ultimate power couple, but it was the family they built together that truly captured the world's heart. It was a family that looked different from many others, built not just by birth, but by choice and by love. Jolie had already adopted her first child Maddox from Cambodia in 2002. She was a single mother and she was proud of it. Her vision of family was bigger than tradition. It was about connection. Together, she and Brad Pitt expanded their family. They adopted their daughter Zahara from Ethiopia and their son Pax from Vietnam. They also had 3 biological children, Shiloh, and the twins Knox and Vivian. Their family was a beautiful, diverse, and global tapestry. They were often photographed traveling the world together, a rainbow tribe as the media called them. For Jolie, her children were her anchor, the center of her universe. She often spoke about how motherhood had saved her and given her a true purpose. It was a role she cherished above all others. This family was not just for the cameras. Jolie was a deeply involved and protective mother. She worked to create a stable and loving environment for her children, even with the intense pressures of fame. She wanted them to be citizens of the world. She wanted them to understand their heritage and be proud of where they came from. Maddox returned to Cambodia to work with her on a film. Zahara accompanied her on humanitarian missions. She was raising her children to be compassionate, aware, and engaged with the world around them. Her family was a testament to her belief in love without borders. She seemed to have found a balance: movie star, director, humanitarian, and mother. She and Pitt were together for over a decade. They finally married in 2014 at their estate in France, Chateau Miraval. Their children were a central part of the ceremony. They helped write the vows and even decorated her wedding veil with their drawings. It seemed like a fairy tale ending to their love story, a moment of peace and joy for a family that had been built in the public eye. For a time it seemed like they had created a perfect world for themselves, a sanctuary of love and family. The fairy tale did not last. In September 2016, the world was shocked to learn that Angelina Jolie had filed for divorce from Brad Pitt. The news marked the sudden and dramatic end of Brangelina. The reasons cited were irreconcilable differences. But soon, details emerged of a painful and difficult situation. The divorce was not amicable. It was the beginning of a long and bruising legal battle that would play out in the public eye for years. The dream that so many had admired had shattered. The image of the perfect Hollywood family was broken. The divorce proceedings were incredibly challenging. The legal fight stretched on for 8 long years. The primary disputes were over the custody of their 6 children and the division of their shared assets, including their French vineyard. The process was drawn out and painful for everyone involved. What was once a private love story became a public spectacle of legal filings and anonymous sources. For Jolie, her main focus was clear. She stated that she made the decision for the health of her family. Her priority was protecting her children from the trauma of the public conflict. The long goodbye was a fight for their future. This period had a profound effect on the entire family. The children were caught in the middle of a very public and difficult separation. The legal battles were not just about money or property, they were about the very structure of their family. Jolie retreated from the public eye as much as she could. She needed to focus on healing her family away from the glare of the cameras. The finalization of the divorce in late 2024 was not a moment of celebration, it was a moment of quiet relief. Jolie's lawyer said she was exhausted but relieved. The war was over, but the scars remained. The end of her marriage marked the end of a significant chapter in her life. It was a time of immense personal pain. The journey from being part of Hollywood's most celebrated couple to navigating a difficult divorce was a harsh one. She had to find a new way forward, not as one half of a famous duo, but as a single mother fighting to protect her children. The darkness of this period was real. It was a trial by fire. But it was also a time that would force her to find a new kind of strength and redefine her life on her own terms. Following the divorce, Angelina Jolie largely disappeared from movie screens. The years after 2016 were marked by a noticeable acting hiatus. She had been one of Hollywood's most prolific stars, but now she was rarely seen in a leading role. Her last major film before this break was Eternals in 2021. For her fans, her absence was felt deeply. The vibrant, powerful presence that had lit up the screen for 2 decades was suddenly gone. This was not a strategic career move. It was a necessary retreat. She was navigating a personal storm that demanded all of her attention and energy. She later described this time as a very dark period in her life. She admitted that for years, she felt like she wasn't herself. The emotional toll of the divorce and the ongoing legal battles was immense. Her focus had to shift completely from her career to her home. She needed to be present for her children. She needed to create a safe and stable environment for them during a time of great upheaval. Acting required her to step into the lives of other characters, but during this time she needed to be fully present in her own life. She had to put her family's healing first. Being away from the cameras was a form of self-preservation. The world of Hollywood, with its constant scrutiny and demands, was not a place where she could heal. She needed space. She needed privacy. Her life had been so public for so long, and now she was pulling back the curtain. This time was about rediscovering who she was outside of her roles, outside of her public relationships. It was a period of quiet reflection and immense personal challenge. She was a mother guiding her 6 children through a difficult transition, and that was the most important role she could play. This time away was not empty, however. It was a period of regrouping and rebuilding. While she wasn't in front of the camera, she was still creating. She was channeling her energy into projects that she could control, projects that had deep personal meaning for her. She was laying the groundwork for her return, but on her own terms. The darkness was not an ending, it was a necessary pause. It was a time to gather her strength, to find her footing again, and to prepare for the next chapter, a chapter that would be defined by resilience and a quiet, powerful comeback. After years of personal struggle and professional quiet, Angelina Jolie made a powerful return to the screen. Her comeback role was as the legendary opera singer Maria Callas in the 2024 film. This was not just another movie role, it was a statement. Callas was a woman of immense talent, passion, and public scrutiny, someone who lived a life of great highs and deep lows. In taking on this role, Jolie seemed to be channeling her own experiences. The performance was hailed by critics as a triumph, earning her Golden Globe and Critics' Choice Award nominations. It was a sign that the artist was back, and with more depth than ever. Jolie herself said that playing Maria Callas felt like the beginning of starting to come alive again. It was a role that allowed her to tap into her own pain and resilience and transform it into art. The film marked the end of her long acting hiatus and the beginning of a professional resurgence. She was not just returning to Hollywood, she was returning with a renewed sense of purpose and a deeper understanding of her craft. The darkness of the previous years had given her a new palette of emotions to draw from. Her performance was not just acting, it was a form of testimony. Even during her time away from acting, Jolie had not been idle. She was simply working behind the scenes. She directed the film, which premiered at the Toronto International Film Festival in 2024. This project allowed her to maintain creative control and tell stories that mattered to her without having to be in the spotlight herself. Directing gave her a different kind of voice, a way to shape a narrative from the ground up. It was a way of staying connected to her craft while she navigated her personal life, proving her passion for filmmaking was as strong as ever. She also ventured into a new arena, Broadway. She served as a co-producer on the hit musical, which opened in April 2024. The show was a critical and commercial success, celebrated for its raw energy and emotional depth. This move showed her versatility and her commitment to supporting new forms of storytelling. From directing films to producing theater, Jolie was expanding her creative empire. Her resurgence was not just about returning to acting. It was about embracing her power as a creator in all its forms, proving that her quiet years were actually a period of powerful creative growth. As Angelina Jolie re-emerged into the professional world, her children were also beginning to step into their own spotlights. They were no longer the small children on a red carpet, they were growing into young adults with their own passions and talents. Jolie has always been a fiercely protective mother, but she has also been a supportive one. She has encouraged her children to explore their interests and find their own paths. This next generation of the Jolie family is now starting to make its own mark on the world, often right alongside their mother. Her children have become her collaborators. Her son Pax, now 21, worked in the assistant director department on her film. He had previously worked as a set photographer on her 2017 film, which was a deeply personal project based on the Cambodian genocide. Her oldest son, Maddox, who is 23, was an executive producer on that same film. This collaboration shows a deep trust and a shared artistic sensibility. She is not just their mother, she is their mentor, guiding them into a world she knows so well, but allowing them to find their own place within it. Her daughters are also forging their own creative paths. Vivian, now 16, showed a serious passion for theater. She worked as a volunteer assistant on the Broadway production of. Jolie noted that Vivian was the one who pushed her to get involved with the project, calling her a thoughtful and serious assistant. Zahara, now 20 and a student at Spelman College, has accompanied her mother on humanitarian trips and even launched her own jewelry line. These are not children riding on their mother's coattails. They are young adults actively pursuing their own dreams with focus and dedication. The children's involvement in the arts and advocacy is a clear reflection of the values their mother has instilled in them. Shiloh, now 19, has shown a remarkable talent for dance, recently debuting as a choreographer in June 2025. Even the youngest, Knox, has had a taste of the industry, voicing a character in. Angelina Jolie's greatest legacy may not be her films or her awards. It may be the 6 incredible individuals she has raised. She has given them a foundation of love, resilience, and a global perspective, and now she is watching them as they begin to build their own futures. One of the most powerful and public signs of the family's new chapter has been the decision by several of the children to distance themselves from their father's surname. This is not just a legal formality, it is a profound statement of identity and allegiance. It is a quiet rebellion that speaks volumes about the family's private journey and the emotional aftermath of the divorce. The children are old enough now to make their own choices, and they are choosing to define themselves on their own terms. This public act signals a deep shift within the family dynamic. In May 2024, on her 18th birthday, Shiloh took a significant step. She hired and paid for her own lawyer to legally file to have Pitt removed from her surname. By August, the change was official, and she became Shiloh Nouvelle Jolie. Her lawyer described it as an independent and significant decision following painful events. This was not a choice made for her, it was her own. She later debuted her new professional name, She Jolie, when she was credited for choreography work. This was a young woman taking control of her own narrative and her own name. Shiloh was not the first to make this change publicly. Her older sister Zahara introduced herself as Zahara Marley Jolie during her sorority induction at Spelman College in 2023. Her younger sister Vivian was credited simply as Vivian Jolie for her work on the Broadway musical. Even the oldest son, Maddox, has reportedly not used the Pitt surname on non-legal documents for years. While Brad Pitt was reportedly upset by these changes, they represent a clear and unified front from the children. They are aligning themselves with their mother and creating their own identities separate from the painful history of the divorce. This collective choice is a powerful testament to Angelina Jolie's role as their primary protector and anchor during the family's most difficult years. It suggests that through the long dark period of the divorce, she succeeded in her goal of creating a safe and healing space for them. Their decision to use the Jolie name is a public declaration of their bond with her. It is a story not of parental alienation but of children old enough to understand their own history and choose their own path forward. It is the ultimate sign that the family has healed and redefined itself for a new era. Angelina Jolie's life has been a study in contrasts. It has been a journey through darkness and light, public triumph and private pain. She began as Hollywood royalty, a rebellious young actress trying to find her own voice. She became a global superstar, an action hero, and an Oscar-winning artist. She built a family that captured the world's imagination, a symbol of a new kind of love. And then, she watched as that world publicly fell apart. Her story could have ended there, in the wreckage of a famous marriage and a painful divorce. But it did not. Instead, she forged a new path. She chose to retreat from the spotlight to protect what mattered most, her children. She endured a long period of darkness, a time of healing and rebuilding that happened away from the cameras. This period of quiet was not an admission of defeat. It was an act of profound strength. It was the choice of a mother to put her family's well-being above her own fame and career. It was in this darkness that she found a new kind of light, a quieter but more resilient strength that would guide her next chapter. Her return to the public eye has been a story of resurgence. Her acclaimed role in her work as a director and producer, and her continued humanitarian efforts, all speak to a woman who has come through the fire and emerged stronger. She is no longer defined by her relationships or by the scandals that once followed her. She is defined by her resilience, her art, and her unwavering commitment to her children. She has shown that it is possible to face immense public and private challenges and to come out the other side with grace and a renewed sense of purpose. Angelina Jolie's journey is ultimately one of hope. It is a story that shows that endings are often new beginnings in disguise. She has redefined success on her own terms. It is not about box office numbers or red carpet appearances. It is about raising compassionate children, telling meaningful stories, and using her platform to fight for others. She has navigated the complexities of a life lived in the public eye with a rare honesty. Her journey through darkness has made her light shine even brighter, offering an inspiring example of how to build a life of purpose, strength, and hope, no matter the storms you have to weather.